Hello my crafting friends. In previous videos I have shown you how we can blend two different machines to create really cool projects using our brand new EufyMake UV printer and also the Xtool P2S. But I'm going back to my roots today and I'm going to show you how we can take our EufyMake UV printer and pair it up with a Cricut craft cutting machine. One of the questions that I have been seeing a lot is if you can take your Cricut craft cutting machine and pair it up with the EufyMake UV printer and do a print then cut project. The short answer to this question is you actually can. But the long answer is that there is some workarounds that you're gonna have to learn how to do in order to make this possible. So for the last couple days, I have been perfecting the art of print then cut with the Cricut and also the EufyMake UV printer. And today I'm gonna show you how to do print then cut projects with the Cricut and also your EufyMake UV printer. I'm gonna show it to you two different ways. On a basic standard letter 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I'm gonna make it even harder and I am going to print something on black cardstock and do a print then cut project. You're gonna be mind blown that this is now possible with this UV printer. So let's get into it. Let's head over into Cricut Design Space and we will set up a print then cut project and I will show you how easy it is to get the project printed on your UV printer and then cut on your Cricut without any issues. Let's go. So to start off with this project, what you're gonna have to do is get your print then cut project ready to go. I have just assumed that you already know how to create a print then cut project within Cricut Design Space. If you do not, what I strongly suggest is going through the library that I have here because I have hundreds of just Cricut Design Space tutorials. Choose one that's a print then cut project and I'll teach you from A to Z how to get to where I am right now. Let's just say that I have decided I want to print then cut all of these little cutouts, okay? All you're gonna do is press make. You're gonna wanna make sure that your Cricut is turned on. And then you wanna make sure that you select the correct material that you're gonna be printing on. So I'm gonna go over here to material size and I'm gonna do 8.5 by 11. Then what you wanna do is press continue. The Cricut is going to automatically connect to my computer. And then what you wanna do is press send to printer. Now here is an optional thing. Some people like to add the bleeds, some people don't. I always just keep them on. That's a personal preference to anyone. But what you do have to do, it doesn't matter what printer you're gonna be printing from, but what you do have to do is come over here to use system dialog, okay? Then we are just gonna press that, toggle that on and press print. Now, when you press print, every single time you do this, it goes into the very back. Then what you want to do is come down here where it says PDF and you want to click on it and then put save as PDF. I'm gonna put this into my downloads folder and we're gonna do print in, okay, print then cut. And then just press save. Now what we have to do is head over into the EufyMake software, okay? And then and then also what you want to do is you want to have the large format tray bed size thing in there. You know how it comes with two, the large one and the small one. You want the large one installed. And then you just want to open up a new window in the EufyMake Studio software. I am also using the flexible white ink because if you use the non-flexible ink with cardstock, it becomes really rigid and then it will probably break on you. So I am using the flexible white ink for this project. Now what we want to do is take in our saved PDF file, drag and drop it into the EufyMake software. Now, unfortunately, what ends up happening every single time you put anything into the EufyMake Studio, I'm hoping that they change this, but for the meantime, what ends up happening, doesn't matter what bed you use or anything like that, your thing that you drag and drop into the EufyMake Studio automatically gets resized. It's beyond obnoxious, okay? So what then you have to do is resize it. And I simply have right here for an 11, and then also everything in the EufyMake software is like in millimeters, and obviously I just printed in inches, so I have to figure all of that out, the conversions, right? That's another thing that I hope that they fix, that we actually get, we can toggle between millimeters and inches. Anyways, so the length of my entire piece of paper is 11 inches, so I need it to be 279.4 millimeter, okay? So then I'm going to go back into the EufyMake Studio, and I'm going to come over here to height, and we are going to make it 279.4 millimeters. And then I'm just going to press return. Now what we have to do is take our sheet of cardstock. I'm just going to using plain white 8.5 by 11 cardstock for right now. And I am going to put it inside my bed of my EufyMake UV printer. Just to make the lining up real easy for me, what I did was I followed the ruler on my mat right here and just align this to my ruler. Okay, you don't have to do this step, but it just makes things a lot easier. You could, if you wanted to, put it in this corner or this corner. It doesn't really matter. I just like the bottom right. It just makes everything so much easier if you do it like this. Okay. All right, then going back to the EufyMake Studio, what you want to do is press Snapshot. The machine is going to take the snapshot. It's taking a live preview of what's inside my UV printer right now, which is just white cardstock. But for the meantime, what we can do is set up our print settings. So I'm just going to click on my image. Now for our print settings for this, for if you are printing on white cardstock, then what I want you to do is change your ink mode over from White CMYK to just CMYK. The reason for that is because if we were to take this, and do you see the white box, that is technically my print area. And then if I drag this over, you're going to see that there is another white box. That's my entire thing, okay? If we were to print this with white and CMYK, what is going to end up happening is that entire white box that you see is going to get printed in white ink, which is ink consumption waste. Not necessary if you're printing on white cardstock. The software does have this really cool thing about AI remover, okay? If you click on it and do background remover, pay attention to how many registration marks are here. There's 4, and all of a sudden 3 now we have 3, but we did have 4. Well, remember what I said, that I have been trying this for days, like perfecting the art of this, okay? Because I tried it. I wasn't paying attention the first time I did it. I was like, oh, AI remover, perfect. And then I printed it. And then I went to go and cut it on the Cricut. And then the Cricut wouldn't read it. And I was like, what the heck? And it's because I'm missing that registration mark here, which is annoying. So I don't suggest doing that. If you're printing on just plain white cardstock, what I suggest is leaving it like its original thing, but resizing it to the size that you need, which is the 279.4 millimeters. And then we are going to change our ink mode over to CMYK. And the greatest part about this is you just saved on ink consumption because you're not printing white. You're not printing a base layer of white. You are going to have to do white and CMYK for dark color cardstocks. And I will show you that we are going to achieve that. There is a lot of workarounds that we have to do for that one, but it is not impossible to get a dark print and cut with the EufyMake software. Just want to show you because I haven't shown you yet. I did get a perfect print and cut with all 4 registration marks on white cardstock with my Cricut and this thing earlier, okay? So now that the machine is almost done taking a snapshot of my bed, it is the one thing that takes the longest is the snapshot. It's kind of annoying, but you know, you just like, I give it some grace because without it, I wouldn't be able to do really cool things, right? Okay, now what you have to do, which is the hardest part of the entire project, is make sure you have this sized onto your piece of paper perfectly. And this is why lining them up with the rulers and the edges of your mat makes such a difference, because I know for a fact my piece of paper on my mat is 100% straight. And then when I loaded this in, it was 100% straight, so it shouldn't be hard to do at all. So I'm just going to line up the corners. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to material, and I'm just going to click on cardboard, because cardboard I feel is like paper. I don't know. Okay, if you want to change the print quality, you can. The higher quality that you do, the more ink that you're going to use. Standard is standard, and then draft is going to be the lowest quality print settings. I'm going to choose high quality only because in my test I have some standard cutouts right here, and I kind of want to know the difference between the two. So I personally, for this one, I'm going to use high quality. I'm just going to come down here to global ink mode, and I'm going to make sure that I am printing on CMYK only because I do not want to waste any white ink. Then what you want to do is press print. Now what the computer is doing is sending over my file to my printer. It's going to be 0.34 milliliters of ink that is going to be used for this print. Hear that little chime. So then what you want to do is just press the happy button at the top of your screen, and essentially you just got to wait for it to get done printing. It should take about 9 minutes. I believe that's what it was the first time I did this, was about 9 minutes. Definitely not as quick as just doing an inkjet printer, but like if you wanted to get rid of your inkjet printer and just stick with your Cricut and your EufyMake, you totally could do that. All right, we're gonna let this print, and then I'll see you back when we're ready to cut it. Remember when I said it took 9 minutes to do this print, and this was in standard print, okay? We have just completed the print. It's took a long time, y'all, like a huge, huge difference in time. It took a total of 39 minutes, 30 minutes to do this print. It better look fire compared to the original. All right, so this right here is going to be the standard print because it doesn't have the fourth one. This right here is going to be the one that we just printed. And you are going to be splitting hairs here. I don't think that there is that big of a difference. I do see kind of a big difference between Arial in the high, I think it was this like high definition, whatever, versus the standard, or high quality versus the standard. She in the high quality is a little bit crisper than she over here in the standard, but it's like splitting hairs. If I were to suggest anything, I would suggest don't print in the high quality. So while the high quality print does look a bit crisper than the standard one, 39 minutes versus 9 minutes is a huge freaking difference. So I would suggest if you were going to do this, that you would just stick to standard prints because my word, we need to save some time. That was ridiculous. So just like any other standard Cricut print and cut project, you want to use your mat, and I like to use a brayer just to put it down on my mat, and we are going to load this into our Cricut. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come over into Cricut Design Space, you're going to say done, and then make sure and set your setting to whatever setting you need to use for your piece of paper. I think I'm going to just use the cardstock mode. And then press fast cut mode, because if you've never seen any of one of my Cricut projects, you do know I do not like a slow cutting machine. So fast cut mode it is all the time. I'm using a Cricut Explore Air 2. So this is one of these older machines. And so sometimes I have to like hold the page down. Well, I mean, if you are a Cricut crafter, you know, sometimes you even have to do a dance. You gotta like do a prayer before you start doing this. You know, it's like, Cricut crafting is not fun, which is why I haven't used my Cricut in a long time, because Lord, most of the time I'm left frustrated. Now it's starting to cut. So while we wait for this to get done cutting, what we have to do is set up our next print and cut. I'm going to use the same exact file that we already have here. All right. But the prep of this file is not like what we just did. What we just did was the easiest and most user-friendly there is. Honestly, if I can suggest anything, I would suggest just doing print and cuts on white paper, just because what I'm about ready to show you is it takes a long time. Not impossible to do with your new UV printer, by the way. It's just it takes a really long time. Before, what we did is we went from Cricut Design Space over to the EufyMake software. But now what we have to do is go into Cricut Design Space, Canva Pro, and then EufyMake Studio, okay? The reason why we have to go into Canva Pro is, remember when we inserted that file from the EufyMake Studio, there was a white background, and I told you if we were to print that, you would have an entire white square. You could actually do that if you wanted to, but like, why waste ink if you don't have to? You know what I mean? So going into Canva, you can see I already have one popped up here for you, okay? You're gonna need to open up a new window in Canva and go into custom sizes, and this needs to be, oh, pause, because we got our print is done printing, and let's just slide this out. Now, my print setting, my cut settings, Maybe I could have chose better cut settings for this, but when we pull these off, all right, you can see that like there is a lot of bleed. Remember, I did have that bleed section turned on my print and cut, so you will see some bleed here, okay? But nothing's like miscut, right? So like Minnie, she still looks fabulous. Like there's nothing wrong with her, you know? She looks great. Let me show you. Okay, this was a standard one. This was the high gloss one. Between the two, I mean, maybe the one that's the high quality one, she looks a bit richer. Like the color in her and just the glossiness of her looks a bit richer than the standard one. Is it worth the 30 extra minutes? No, no, not at all. Okay, just to show you all of these little things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not bad print and cuts. Definitely a doable project. Okay. All right. Now that we're done doing that, what you want to do is go back over into Canva. Okay. Okay. Now for this one, we are going to create the custom page size. We are going to create it to 8.5 by 11. Okay. Now that we have our 8.5 by 11 sheet on our whatchamacallit, what is this? Canva. What you want to do is go back over into Cricut Design Space. We're going to come over here to printed and we want to send this printer, pressing it next. Then we're going to do system dialog and press print. Okay. We are going to find that dialog box, which is always behind the Cricut window. This is something I really wish that Cricut would fix. And then what you want to do is come over here into the PDF. You're going to click on the caret and you are going to open in preview. Now this one, oh, you can already see I already have one here. Now for this one, what you want to do is you want to export this as a PNG file. So we're going to come over here, we're going to export it as a PNG and we print and cut. Okay. Save it as a PNG file and then press save. Going back over into Canva, what you want to do is find that file that we just exported and drag and drop it into Canva. Now at this point, what you want to do is resize this. See this outer purple box here? We need to resize it to the size of what is on our screen, 8.5 by 11. So we are just going to keep going until it fills up, just like that, all right? Then what you want to do, and this is really important, is you want to come over here to background remover. Okay, and the reason why you want to do this is because even if you were to save this as a transparent background, so if you were to just like drag it into Canva and then say share, download, and then put transparent background in download, what you end up getting, because I figured someone was going to ask this or say this, you still get what you had originally. There's still some issues here, okay? So you have to do this step, okay? It's background remover. Then what you want to do is come over here and click on background remover again. This particular file, it doesn't happen for all the files, but just this particular file, for some reason, do you see inside Pinocchio? Pinocchio is missing some things right here, okay? I want to restore that. You don't have to do this for everything. Obviously, most of like what I have here in the white, it was fine, but for whatever reason that Pinocchio gets that little in his lapel just got like taken away, but everything else looks fine, okay? But you just want to make sure that you have that put back in, okay? When you're done, just exit out of that. Then what you want to do is press share, press download, make sure it's a transparent background, and then press download again. Then what you're going to do is save your download, going back over into the EufyMake software, and we are going to drag and drop our PNG file into the EufyMake software. Now, what you want to do at this point is get a piece of paper loaded into your UV printer. I'm going to use black for today. Okay, this is black 12 by 12 cardstock found in my cardstock warehouse. Doing the same thing, we're just going to load this into the EufyMake UV printer, using my rulers as a guide, because remember, those are going to be extremely helpful for the lineup process. Before we do anything more, let's just do a snapshot, because that's the thing that takes the longest. Okay, we are going to take this and we are going to resize this to the size that we need, which is that 279.4. Now, here is the biggest downfall with the flexible ink that I have found personally. Unlike the hard white inks, the standard white ink that comes with your UV printer, the flexible ink is not as opaque as the hard original white ink, okay? I had tried to do this before, just doing one single layer of white and CMYK, and I did not have really good results, all right? So what you want to do at this point, because it's really important, just to let you know, if you don't do it, you're gonna be left with the cruddiest print ever. You won't be able to see it if you're doing black cardstock just like me, is what you wanna do is take this print and you're going to copy and paste, okay? For the back one, the very back one, what I want you to do is I want you to click on it and I want this one to be white only. Then for the front one, what I want you to do is do white and CMYK. So essentially what you're doing is you're telling the printer you are doing 2 layers of white and then 1 layer of color. So you're gonna have, it's gonna be on the thicker side, but trust me, it's going to look a lot better, okay? So we are going to make sure that these are nice and centered together. And then what you want to do, because at this point in time, if you were to print this on black cardstock, just the way that it sits, your images that we print are going to look amazing. But the black registration lines on the black cardstock, your Cricut won't be able to read it, all right? So what you have to do is kind of trick the Cricut into thinking that you're printing on something else but black. This will work if you were doing brown cardstock, pink cardstock, or whatever, okay? So what I want you to do is come over here into Element and then Shape, and then we are gonna insert a square. I want you to change this over into white, and I want to change this over to just white print ink mode, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna zoom in and we are gonna trick the program into thinking we are printing on something that is white cardstock. Copy and paste. All right, so I have one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna copy and paste, and I'm going to do the same thing for every single thing that I have here. I told you this process is more tedious than before, but it's not impossible to do. It just takes a lot of work. There's a lot of like steps that we got to take for this one. All right, now what you don't want to do is cut off any of your print and cut. Okay, so just make sure that you don't do that. But I got pretty decent on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of my pieces, the white layer and then my color layer, and I'm going to put these up to the top. So your image should look like this, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of my pieces that I have. You want to make sure you do not resize this because we've already resized it. Now what we're going to do is, you see that top corner, that left corner right there? We are going to match it up with the top left corner of my piece of paper, okay? All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, for this one, I'm going to change it over. I have been told that we should try metal or wood. That will give you the more crisper ones. I'm not going to change my ink cartridges over. I'm just going to do that. I am going to switch this from high quality to standard because I am definitely not interested in doing another high quality print. I'm just going to exit out of that. Okay, then what you want to do is press print. Okay, then your computer is going to send all the files over to your UV printer. You're going to hear do a little dance. It's going to take 0.5 milliliters. I don't think that that's accurate, but you know, I could be wrong. Okay, all you want to do now is just press print. All right, now all we want to do is just wait for this one to get done printing. And I'm not entirely sure how long this is going to take to print. So we're going to find out together. I'll see you back here in hopefully like 9 minutes.
Well, that took a total of 48 minutes.
I can tell you right now, I probably would never use this feature in the future just because 48 minutes is a long time, but at least we can do it, right? Okay, so this is what the final print looks like, and it's not terrible, okay? You can see that the white isn't as very bright white as like the original stuff that you would print with the original white inks. I do see that I have a little bit of like weirdness going on right here. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but for the most part, like all of these they look great. Okay, the one thing, we are going to try it just like this and not have to hack it with the Cricuts. The one thing that I would like to note here is if you haven't ever been a Cricut user, the biggest complaint about the Cricut is their print and cut feature, because it is just a pain in the butt. I'm hoping I don't have to use this, but if I do, I have it on hand, because the paint or the ink that gets printed, it's pretty shiny. And with that, because it's really shiny, I'm using a Cricut Explorer Air 2, and it's like the most basic Cricut out there. And it doesn't print and cut really well, especially when it comes to shiny paper. So again, I'm hoping I don't have to hack this, but if I do, I have my handy dandy trusted white crayon. Oh, comparisons between the two. So this was the high definition that I had printed with you, and compare it to the white. You can tell that there is a vast difference between the two. That's because the white isn't as very pigmented, and so it's picking up the background color of being black. So everything kind of has this like muted tone to it. Again, I probably would never use this feature again, because 48 minutes is a really, really long time. But like, if you can do it and you're only doing like one piece of paper, sure. But I definitely would not get rid of our inkjet printers, because I ain't doing this again. All right, going over to the Cricut, making sure that you are on the correct settings and also the fast cut mode, because I ain't doing a slow cut machine. So we're just gonna put it in there. Again, if it doesn't work, like if it doesn't start reading it, I'm gonna try and hack it. So you can tell just by the voice that the machine is giving, it doesn't want to read the machines. I mean, I have been a Cricut crafter since 2011. I kind of know when a machine isn't going to cut well. So with the white crayon hack, because this right here is shiny, okay? So we're just gonna rub the crayon over our the white portion, and hopefully this will just get rid of enough of that residue that it will start to read the line. Now there's other things that you can do, like say a little prayer, maybe do a little dance. Cricut, like I said, Cricut is known to have print and cut issues. Okay, doesn't want to work now. You know, this thing is making me out to be a liar. So now I have a Sharpie. Let's go in with a Sharpie.
My inside voice never came outside to tell you exactly what it is that I was doing. I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm going over my black registration marks to make them darker, to trick the Cricut into thinking that they are there. They are there. They just didn't want to read it for whatever reason.
Now that the machine is finally reading the registration marks and doing its cuts, I would like to note, and I know I've already said this, that I would never do a project like this ever again using dark color cardstock. Doing white is perfectly fine as long as you're in the standard mode, because it only takes 9 minutes. But anything more than that, there's no way that I would ever do this project, just because the setup time takes forever. The print time also takes forever. Then you have to hack the crap out of all of your entire print just to get it to actually read the registration marks. By the time you're done, you could have been finished with your your initial project, the one you wanted, hours ago, and then you could have been like eating dinner already. But the fact that you can do it is great. And I've shown you that you could do it. You know what I mean? All right, so here is the finished cuts. Ooh, you know, I actually did not choose good cut settings. So all that work that went into, and you know what? Look, the registration marks, even though they read them, I still have a really bad misprint cuts. Now, Cricut has been historically known to be really bad at print and cuts. I haven't calibrated or anything like that. So, you know, it could be that. Like, we could just blame the Cricut. However, I am not going to blame the Cricut too bad. The reason for that is because my whites aren't very bright, my blacks aren't very saturated, and so it could have had a really tough time reading the registration marks, and now we have really mismatched cuts. You know what I mean? Are they terrible? No, I could, you know, take my scissors and cut these around, and I'm sure I could get something like salvageable off of this. But it just goes to show that although we can do something, we just don't really need to do it. You know what I mean? I would much rather, if I was going to do this project again, I would much rather stick to something like this, because the print quality between the two, even when, so we have, this was on black cardstock, this was on the high definition setting, and this was on the standard setting. Even if we did the standard setting, it beats this right here. Time, ink, and quality is a no-brainer. I would never use this with dark ink ever again. But at least we know that we can do it. So for all you Cricut crafters out there, if you have a Cricut and you've been wanting to try the print and cut with the EufyMake UV printer, just know it is possible. Would I personally be doing any of these projects again? Yes, only on the white paper, but never on the dark. All right, y'all, I sure hope I inspired you to create, and I'll see you on the next one.